Buying residential rental property has been the most wonderful thing that happened to our family and the families of many of my clients over the past 36 years. Stay tuned.
Hi, welcome once again to our presentation regarding residential rental property. If you want to get into this type of investment, the first thing you need to do, of course, is to buy the first house. If you already have a house, well, you can skip this presentation and go to the next one that's coming soon. But you're going to ask several questions first. Number one, am I ready? Do I qualify? Do I have the money? Do I have the income? So this question is probably the most important one because you don't want to get into a transaction, a contract, to find out that it's not possible to close after you have done everything and spend some money on it. The second one would be what to buy. Would that be an apartment? Would it be a house? A complex of apartments? A duplex, quadruplex, whatever. Good question. And finally, well, for most first-time buyers, this is the scariest part, which is, how am I going to do this? Do I qualify? Do I have the income? Do I have the means to do this? And this is probably one of the most important questions you need to ask. And we'll go through all of them in a few seconds. Stay tuned. Okay, on the question, am I ready? There are three considerations here: employment, monthly income, and personal debt. In regards to employment, we have several possibilities. One is you have been employed by a company for at least 2 years, and you are paid through, like in the US case, a W-2 form and a pay stub, a monthly pay stub. Well, that would be the easiest way to qualify for a loan because everything could be verified by the employer and also your income tax returns. Another possibility is that you are self-employed. You're not working for a company, you work for yourself. And that has a different type of qualification requirements that we'll go through when we talk about lending, how to get financing for your purchase. The second one would be monthly income. Is this income sufficient to qualify for that loan? And how long has you been making this income? Has the income been increased? Has it been reduced? Have you moved from one company to another? And those are questions that are very important. And finally, personal debt. When you have a car payment and you have a credit card payment that is really high compared to your personal income or your monthly income, chances are that you need to make either more money that you expect to make to qualify for the same loan, or you have to pay off some part of the debt in order to make those payments smaller so that you qualify for that loan. And we'll go through that also. So we'll go through them one by one, especially in regards to financing. How we're going to work with these numbers and qualify for a loan. Okay, let's analyze the first factor included in the qualification for financing to buy a piece of property. The employment income. When you are employed by a company, you are making a monthly income as an employee, you will receive a monthly pay stub, which shows how much money you made during the month, what you paid for taxes, everything else, in a W-2 form at the end of the year every year. In some cases, you receive what we call the 1099. That's the employee. That's the easiest way to qualify when you show a W-2 form. That's basically what's required. But when you are self-employed, you have to prove your income through a 3-year tax return, and the income will be averaged over the 3 years. So it will be a lot harder to qualify in many cases. We'll talk about this also later. To make clear what's going on when you are obtaining financing for real estate, I have prepared this little example here. The lenders are going to use 2 different numbers to qualify a person for a loan. And the first one will be the mortgage to income ratio, which is what they call the front ratio. It's a percentage of your gross income, or in your case, when you are self-employed, your net income. So it's a percentage that you're allowed to pay to buy the house in regards to principal and interest payments on the loan, property tax, insurance or homeowners insurance, association fees. And in some cases, when you are putting a small down payment, you have to insure the lender with what we call the mortgage insurance, and that's another payment that is included in this 28%. In my example, in making you to imagine that it's possible to buy a house in California for $360,000. That's not possible anymore. Well, in certain areas and certain situations, you can buy a house for this price, but let's say it's possible. So you pay $360,000 for a house, and you are putting a 20% down payment, which would be in this case $72,000 for a loan of $28,000. Let's suppose that loan will be amortized over 30 years and is given to you a 3% fixed rate. Based on this price, if the property tax is 1.15% of the property value, which would be the price in this case, then your property tax would be $345 a month. And if your insurance is $750 per year, you pay $62.50 per month for a total of $1,591.72. Well, $1,591 is more than you qualify for. So in this case, you will not be qualified to buy this property. You cannot do it with this income. You need $5,684 to qualify for this house. But don't worry, there are many options available for you when you are not qualified. Like in this case, you can always, in certain government loans, your parents are allowed to help you, whether they would give you a gift to increase the down payment, or they would serve as a cosigner so you can buy the property with them in title also. It's another thing to talk about later. The next step would be to analyze what we call the back ratio, which will be the total debt payment to income ratio. That's to follow. Okay, I am showing here a negative situation in which a person who wants to buy a house for $360,000 is not qualified. And you might be wondering, why this guy is trying to discourage us to buy a real estate. I think it's quite the opposite, because when you know what the worst situation is, and you really want to do this, you are looking for your best situation, and you try to find that best, and that's my purpose here. So let's analyze what happens with the front and back ratios. Both ratios, the 28% in the front and the 35% in the back, are both used by the lender to estimate how much money the lender is going to lend you. So in the first example that I gave you, a house for $360 with 20% down payment and the loan for $288 at 3% for 30 years fixed. The monthly payment on that loan was $1,591, and if you divide this by 28%, then you have your monthly income to be $5,684.71. So basically, if you are making $4,600, like the example said, you're not qualified. Now let's see the back ratio. I told you both ratios are considered. The back ratio is the ratio that includes the house payment and other monthly payments that you have, like automobile loans, credit cards, etc. So if this person has a total payment of $2,066 and the back ratio is 35%, he can buy a house in which the payment is
$723.35, which
is impossible to do. In order to get the total payment down, he needs to make $5902.86 per month. Well, I hope this clarifies what the front and back ratios are and how they work, so that you'll be better prepared later to get into a house knowing that you have the income. And that's one of the requirements. Continuing with the presentation, we're going to see the other options that are available. Okay, let's review what we've seen so far. We talked about the front ratio and back ratio. So if your income is $8,600 and you were to qualify with the front ratio only, which is 26% in most cases, your payment, total payment for taxes, insurance, and principal and interest would be $2236 approximately. If we're going to estimate the property tax to be 1.25%, and your insurance about maybe $900 a month, the 25% of the payments, an approximation of those payments, in that case would be like $559, $560, $570 at the most, making the principal and interest payment, just that part, $1,677. If you were going to amortize a loan for 30 years at 3.5% or 3.25% with this payment, the result is that the calculator, which is going to be, always has to be a financial calculator. You can estimate what the loan amount is. In this case would be $385 plus whatever down payment you can afford. That should be the price of the property. Now, let's review what happens if you have debt. So then you can see the difference in payments allowed for you to qualify if you have personal debt on top of the mortgage. So let's see it. So we know now that you qualify for a payment of $2236 with this type of income on the back, on the front ratio. Now, let's see what happens if you are going to consider your monthly payments on automobile, credit cards, stores, etc. on top of the monthly payment you qualify for the house only. So let's add the total monthly payments on other issues to the principal, interest, and taxes payments on your loan. That makes a total of $3,006. That's what you qualify for with the debt. So multiplying your income by 36%, which is the back ratio, you qualify for the loan that you are applying for. Okay, something to know. This income to debt ratio is not the only criteria to qualify you for a loan. There are many other criteria that have to be considered. Most importantly, your credit score, your credit history, whether you have a 620 credit score or you have an 835 credit score, makes a big difference, not only in the qualification, but also in the type of financing you are getting. The higher your credit score is proof that you are making your payments on time most of the time. So that gives confidence to the lender to give you the money at sometimes a lower interest rate, better terms for you. So very important to have a high credit score in your credit. And the other thing would be whether you are still doing the same type of work you were doing 6 months, 8 months before now. If you have changed your line of work, for example, from an engineer and let's say production department of a company, and then you move to another thing like construction, for example, then there could be a problem because you don't have the time to qualify based on the new type of work you are doing. But if the two types of work are similar, require the same knowledge, the same specialized knowledge, then there is no problem. And many more options. Now, this basically tells you what to do, what to expect in regards to obtaining financing. The next step will be to consider, based on what you qualify for, what to buy. And that's more fun than this. Okay, now that we covered a little bit of financing, how to obtain financing, let's see the second most important thing to consider, which is what we know everybody says: location. Plus. Location. Yeah, it's true. It's very important to consider location of the property. Let's say this house is at the bottom of a ditch and there is a road here that turns basically by the house. There is a concrete barrier here, very strong barrier. But think of this. If this hill is coming down towards the house and a big truck loses the brakes, do you think this barrier is going to stop this car from going to the house? Maybe yes, maybe not. So why taking a risk like that? Buying a house like this or selling a house like this would be very hard. And renting a house like this would be as hard. So no. Another thing is this. People believe that electromagnetic fields from high tension power lines produce cancer. Maybe it's not true. Maybe after a certain distance, it makes no difference. Who knows? But that's what people believe. So if they believe it, they won't buy this house because it's close to the power lines. Maybe it's 70 feet away. Maybe it's safe, but people don't know and they don't want to take the risk of being close to this. There are many other considerations, like a train going near the house, like I put in an example before, the airplane coming down or just lifting just on top of the house,
Or a school, everybody parks in front of your house every time they go to pick up the kids at school and so on. When there is a meeting, parents meeting, whatever, is sometimes a mess. So things like that, consider those things. Neighborhood, decent neighborhood, where you and your family will be happy, safe, and that's what you want for your tenants too. That's why location is the number one. It's location, 1, 2, 3. Now let's go to the next step. Okay, what could be a good rental property? I would say any one of these could be good. However, there are some little things that we need to consider also. Homes, we are talking about residential rental properties, so I'm going to stay with single family homes first for this presentation. 4 or more bedrooms with 2 or more bathrooms, a 3-car garage, maybe a 2-car garage. Then we have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath with a 2-car garage, 2 and 2, 1-car garage, 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 1-car garage, 1 bedroom, 1 bath, carport, no garage. This will be probably the most expensive house you could buy if you are thinking about renting a house that you own. And there are many things to think about here. A big house, maybe in a great, fantastic neighborhood like this, will rent mostly to people who are going to live there temporarily. It's very, very hard to find people renting a house like this for years and years and years. I know of one in Oceanside that's been paying rent for over 13 years and never moved. It's still there. It's one of my clients' home. But this one not only would be more expensive to buy in the sense that if you're putting a 20% down payment, your monthly payment is possibly going to be a lot higher than what you are going to collect every month in rent. That is a big possibility. The big advantage of this type of home is that the homes like those will appreciate faster and will keep the value better than the others. But nevertheless, it's a good investment if you can afford paying more than you get in rent, just thinking that the property will be worth more later. Very similar thing with the 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage. Also, maybe the families that rent a house like this will stay longer than this one, but that's questionable too. Ideal. The ideal property will be the 2-bedroom, 2-bath with a 2-car garage. Because a family that moves to a 2-bedroom house is likely to be a small family. Sometimes it's just a single couple who want to have an extra bedroom for visitors, and they love to have the garage so they don't have to park on the street. So this would probably be the most stable rental single family home that you can own. Followed by 2-bedroom, 1-bath, and 1-car garage. Provided, like for example, I have drawn this little twin home building. We have a lot of these in California in which you are not buying the duplex, you're buying the twin home. Only one of the two. But this particular home has a front yard and a backyard and a single car garage, which makes it very, very attractive to small families also. And if your property happens to be close to shopping centers, medical services, gas stations,
that makes it more attractive, because many people who can't afford to buy a house don't have a car, so they have to go to the market by foot. They have to walk. They probably need to be close to the bus stop, and so on. So in my opinion, a little house like this would be ideal, and I have proof because I have many clients who bought this type of investment through me, and they have really been successful about them. I know several, I have a couple of clients for whom I manage the property, and since they bought it 10, 15 years ago, they still have the same tenants. I can testify to this myself also. So great investment. And the 2-bedroom, the 1-bedroom, 1-bath with a carport, same thing as the 4 bedrooms. It's mostly temporary people. Somebody who just moved to the area, wants to live somewhere and rents for a while, then moves out. There is a lot of turnaround, like the 4-bedroom and plus. So even though they are good investments, they are not as good as the others. Let's put it this way. Well, that'll be it for the type of property to buy on residential rental income property. Congratulations, you just bought a rental property, a residential rental property. But now what? What's coming? Here it is. How to select the tenants. The first thing you do, you have a face-to-face interview. Try to know as much as you can about what they do for a living, where they have lived before or where they are living, how big is the family, and so on. Kind of personal, but it's very important. The credit report. I would never ever rent a house to anyone if I haven't seen the credit report. If that tenant has a credit, most of the credit cards and store payments have been made late. What's the likelihood that they will make late payments on your rent? Amazingly high, too high. So, very important, credit report. Verification of prior rent and whether the tenant has been evicted before. I want to warn you about something here. If the tenant still living at a place, it is likely that the owner of that building wants them out, and he will lie to you. Oh, fantastic tenant, though they will always pay on time, they are clean, the house is always kept properly, and so on. So be careful. The best way, if it's ever possible, try to visit the tenant at their place. If they really need to rent a house, and if they are clean and they don't have anything to hide, it's likely they allow you in. I created a little trick once. I wasn't comfortable with the tenant, so I got the application. Make sure that you have an application with all the information you need, where they work, who the landlord is, who the manager of the company is. You need to verify those things. It's very important. It is the future of your rental property that is at stake here. So what I did, I went back to the home they had on the application, knocked on the door, and I said, I'm sorry, may I come in? I forgot this. So I had a little line to fill out, and I filled it out and just got out. Luckily, those tenants were very clean, very nice. They're still there. So over 15 years now. The lease agreement. Make sure they understand what they are getting into. When they sign a lease, and I would probably suggest at least 1 year, The commitment is clear. If they move out, they owe you the rest of the year. If they happen to be good tenants for a year, why not make it month to month from then on and continue? Make sure the deposit is substantial, at least 1 month rent, and have a walkthrough document with all the items in the house and the condition, and very important, just put photographs on the, and have them sign the statement saying that the photographs are available and dated. Because you don't know, you could probably get, I had one property in Burbank many years ago. It was my first rental, and I rented it to a couple of security officers. 3 months later, they say, I cannot pay the whole rent, may I pay half? I was new in this business, 1984, and I say, yeah, sure, just give me half now and half at the end of the month. But I got half for 3 months. The one half to pay 3 months because they didn't move, so I had to evict them. When I got there, the house cost me, at the time, more than 30 years ago, cost me over $6,000 just to fix it up. So that's why it's very important to make sure that the deposit's there and the walkthrough is signed so that you can go to court and say, this is what they had and that this is what they left. Okay, but fortunately, I never had to do that after that first experience because of this. Collection of rent. Very important. If you can get them to deposit directly in your bank, that's the best way to do it. Whether there is a direct deposit or like two of my tenants who are just putting a check in my account every month. In claims, hey, something got damaged, I need you here, whatever, and repairs. Make sure that you pay attention to those things immediately. Don't delay. If there is a water leak, a roof leak, whatever the case is, fix it, and fix it now. Pay somebody, even if you have to pay extra because it's a Sunday, do it. When the tenant feels that he is being taken care of properly, when the house is comfortable for them and is close to everything they need to go to, and you are acting like this, taking care of those things now, they stay, they love to stay. The house that you are giving them has to be a house that you'll be comfortable with living in. Another thing, for this tenant, that place should be their pride. They should be proud of living in your rental. Otherwise, you will be just turning around tenants all the time. And that's not a good business. It costs money to put a new tenant in. So try to avoid having to do that. This closes my presentation on how to buy a single family home as a residential rental.
The guidelines listed here have provided me and some of my clients with excellent tenants. As a matter of fact, two of my tenants have been in the property for over 12 years. One is there for 15 years and is taking care of the property fantastically. We are very pleased with them. So I am sure if you follow these guidelines, you will have a very profitable business if you invest in residential rental property. Thank you very much for listening. Please subscribe to our channel.